9.com and TiderInsider.com and all your social media platforms for Inside the Trenches.
See, I'm from Big Bama, you're not the little one. We got smoke for anybody that wants some. Yeah, we don't do no yapping, and we don't do no capping. We from the state where all we know is make it happen. Hey, what you say now? And you know what to do. Alabama. Yeah, A-L-A. A-L-A. Now what you say? Alabama. A-L-A. A-L-A. Now what you say?
All right, here we go, everybody. Welcome in to this week's edition of Inside the Trenches, starring former Alabama and NFL greats Wallace Gilberry and Andre Smith, featuring Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, and me, Gary Harris, WVUA 23 sports director and host of the Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC. We are live on Tide109.com, Tide 109 app, and Tide 109 FM, as well as 1230 AM WNSP in Mobile. And also, I think we're live on YouTube tonight. And we'll check with Wallace in a moment and see if that's up and running. But we got our video tonight. Everything took us a few episodes, Rodney, to get it just like we wanted to get it. But through Bob's hard work, Audio Bob, our producer and technical director, we have everything in place tonight. I see Wallace, I see Andre, I see you in person, and also in our monitor. So we are ready to go. Good evening, gentlemen. How's everybody doing?
Good evening. Good evening. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing well. How y'all doing?
Well, doing great. You know, Rodney, I said all last week on my sportscast, that was the calm before the storm. Both Alabama and Georgia on bye. Well, the storm is brewing, and it's going to come to a head. There's going to be a tidal wave one way or the other. We hope it's a crimson tidal wave Saturday night beginning at 6:30 Central Time between the hedges in Athens, Georgia. Number 17, Alabama. That sounds strange, saying 17, Alabama. Number 5, Georgia. Wallace, I'll let you start us off with just some opening comments. Listen, there are big games every week in the SEC. Every game's big, but then there are special games. This is one of those special games.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Gary. And this game, to me, guys circle this game in the offseason. These are one of those games where you set your jaw early and you bring what you bring to the game. It's not going to be second half, having time to set your pads. You're going to have those pads set before you enter the stadium. So I think these guys are understanding what what's up ahead of them. And I think they're ready to accept the challenge. I'm liking what I've been seeing out of Todd lately.
Andre, you were playing in the game that kind of, I think, put the world on notice that Alabama football was going to be back to something special under Nick Saban. You guys had taken care of Clemson in Atlanta, but still not many people gave Alabama much of a chance in 2008 at Sanford Stadium in the blackout game, and it was 30-0 before Georgia blinked. So you know what it's like to go over there and put a whipping on the dogs. What was that like? And I know it's 17 years later, but the intensity, the rivalry, it's still going to be the same. What can you tell us about that experience that maybe these players could use in terms of going over there and having success on Saturday night?
Man, the main thing for us going to that game was to make sure we were going to dominate our opponent every single snap. We learned that offseason that every play only lasts from 6 to 7 seconds, and then you get a 40-second break. So our whole mindset going into the game was to run a sprint for 6 seconds, then reset and do it again all over again after 40-second rest. But you have to go in with, like Wallace was saying, with the hard hat mentality that y'all already set. Knowing the opponents you're going to play is going to give you all they got because you're the University of Alabama. You always going to get the best out of everyone. But you have to go in with the mindset that we are the best team, we are the most dominant team, and just go out there and break their will. That was our whole main goal in 2008, was to go break Georgia's will. And we ended up doing that, having success. And 17 years later, all national championships later, we're still trying to have that same dominance when we step on the field every single time.
Rodney, as I said to Wallace and Andre, that kind of started Nick Saban's run. But the one thing about Alabama versus Georgia, and Alabama's won 9 of the last 10. We know Kirby's 1-6 against the Crimson Tide, but very few of those games have been blowouts. Even that game, down 30-0, they didn't quit. And that was Mark Richt coaching them. But at home, they fought back and, they made the final score respectable. And then last year, a similar type scenario in Tuscaloosa, I think it was it 30-6 or 28-0, something like that. and then they fall back in the second half and take the lead. When you play Georgia, especially with Kirby Smart coaching, you got to play for 60 minutes, regardless of the score.
Yeah, and same thing. I mean, when you talk about, you can look at the what was it, the 2012 SEC championship game. They were up 21-10. I mean, in that time, it looked like they were getting ready to take the game over, and Alabama came out and physically took that game over and ended up winning. Of course, A.J. McCarron to Amari Cooper. What a play that was. And then, you go to the 2017 national championship game. It's 13-0 at halftime. They were dominating, and then the Tua comes in and turns everything around, and Alabama ends up winning in overtime. The monumental play, of course, second 26. So there's been a lot of games, a lot of back and forth. But if you're Georgia, you got to be saying, what does it take to beat these guys? Of course, they beat Alabama for the national championship, but they've had Alabama on the ropes, and they've had some really tough losses. I mean, you look at the one last year, they make that comeback. I can still envision, we're sitting in the press box, and I can still envision that Georgia sideline. The players are going wild. They're celebrating. And 45 seconds later, Ryan Williams is doing a pirouette and he's headed down the sideline. And, then Zabian Brown makes that big play and they're like shell shocked, So, I mean, Georgia has lost some really tough games. So, Gary, your point is you got to play 60 minutes in this game.
All right. We got some great phone calls last week. And as I said, the show's really starting to take off. If you're listening and you want to join the conversation, if you want to talk to Wallace, if you want to talk to Andre, you can call us on the Inside the Trenches hotline at 205-339-4953. That's 205-339-4953. Your opportunity to talk to these two former Bama and NFL greats and pick their brain on what they think. All right, let's get to this year specifically, Wallace. And every year's new. Every week in this conference, it's a new week. But
every week.
Yeah, for Alabama, we talked about this last week. The season, if you lose the game, the season's not over. You still got 8 games to play in the regular season, 7 games in the league. I mean, you could come back from it. But because you lose early at Florida State, a loss would make it tough. What does this year's team, what's the approach need to be for them to go over there and have success on Saturday night?
Well, it's just what you say, Gary. In the past, Alabama was never privileged to lose early in the season. If we were going to lose, it was going to come late in the season, a Georgia, a LSU, or maybe even an Auburn loss. But to lose that game, the first game of the season, it kind of puts you back on your heels now. All right. So now you can't afford to take another loss because now that loss is going to be even more magnified than the last loss. So I think that's in the back of these guys' mind. I think it's in the back of their mind that, hey, we can't afford another loss. We're on our heels and we have to come out on fire. And so hopefully we see that intensity come this Saturday.
Andre?
Yeah, for sure. You want to see the flight or fight syndrome, so to speak. Your back's against the wall. Like Wallace was saying, we can't lose another game. So these guys have to come out and fight. And like I said, impose their will on Georgia. Georgia's not going to be a cakewalk by any means. So these guys go out with the effort to buy in what Coach DuBois is selling, make sure they're dominating every single snap, making sure they're winning their one-on-ones. Let's go save them, like they say when we were playing. There's a set time to be successful for the team. If those guys do not go out there and win their individual one-on-ones, then there's going to be no success for the team. So those guys have to go in, compete their tails off, have the right mindset, know they're going to be flows of the game where the team's going to be doing extremely well. There will be time when the team's not doing well. It's just how do you rekindle that fire up under yourself and as a team, as a unit, to make sure you go out there and be successful the next drive.
Yeah, I think what Andre's saying is 100%. I mean, he's talking about responding to adversity on the road. This is something that we have to be honest about. You look at Kalen DeBoer since he's been here, Alabama has not responded well to adversity on the road. And this is going to be a real key in this game. Georgia, they haven't lost a home game. They've won 33 straight, and mentally, Georgia is as tough as any team in the country, maybe tougher, maybe the toughest. So, it's almost like playing a Nick Saban team is really what it is.
Well,
so go ahead, Wallace.
No, I'm sorry. Right now, I was going to say it is playing a Nick Saban team because I was on that 07 team with Kirby Smart was my defensive coordinator, and I knew how important Kirby Smart was to Nick Saban's organization. To his operation. It was two guys in that building, and Andre can attest to this, that you knew were important to Coach Saban's operation, and that was Kirby Smart and Coach Cochran. And when those two guys left and went to Georgia, I saw half of the program shift to the state of Georgia. I saw that dog mentality shift to the state of Georgia. And so you're right. To me, this is one of those true Alabama, hard-nosed backbone defensive team led by, a great defensive-minded coach.
With that in mind, and then we're going to get to a phone call, but I want to get Wallace and Andre to weigh in on this. You've been in that locker room with Kirby Smart, like you said. You know his intensity. You know his fire. Much like Saban, publicly, he's going to say all the right things about his opponent. But do you guys think with him being 1-6 against Alabama, even though he does have the one win for the national championship, Alabama's cost him probably 2 or 3 more national championships. Andre, is it going to be personal? Is it personal to Kirby Smart? I know Nick Saban said it was never personal, but do you think in this case, with Alabama having been such a nemesis, that it's personal to him?
I mean, there may be a little bit of that there with Coach Smart being an alumni of the University of Georgia, him wanting to win for the University of Georgia. But as far as taking it like personal, like having feelings after the game, I don't think he's like that. I think he's just one of those guys to put their best effort out on the field for 4 quarters and dominate for 60 minutes if possible. That's what he wants to see. He wants to see his team continue to get better and train up and not go backwards, so to speak. As long as those guys are out there flying around doing what Coach Smart is asking them to do, and if Alabama out executes them and wins the game, that's what we want as Alabama fans. But if that was happening on the Georgia side, I think Coach Smart would accept that and move on to the next opponent.
Wallace, is that how you see it?
Absolutely. Coach Kirby Smart is a smart guy. His name suits himself 100%. He knows how to get us ready. When I say us, meaning his defense, and he knows how to play the chess game with on the other sideline. So this is not going to be a cakewalk for Alabama. We're going to have to come in there, and like Dre said earlier, we're going to have to break their will. We're going to have to, take the fight to them. And I've seen in the past where Alabama has went into Georgia and done that. So it's definitely in our DNA.
All right, let's get to a phone call on the Inside the Trenches hotline at 205-339-4953. Alex, you're on with former Alabama and NFL greats Wallace Gilberry and Andre Smith, Inside the Trenches.
Hey, guys, appreciate you guys taking my call. I just had a quick question for Wallace and Andre. Just how big of a psychological hurdle is it? You're going into a major game on the road where it's going to be a hostile environment. Obviously, we know about DeBoer's recent road game struggles at Alabama. But regardless of preparation, if things go wrong early on in the game, how hard is it psychologically to not allow those mistakes to kind of snowball and derail your chances of winning the game?
Well, that's a great question.
Yeah, great question, Alex. Great question. And you're absolutely right. Again, that loss against FSU, I mean, regardless of how people feel like we move on to the next game, that's always going to be in the back of our mind. All right, and you said it best. Things start going bad early in the game. How are we going to address that? What's going to be our makeup? Are we going to correct the mistakes in flight and adjust, or is it going to take us get into halftime to make those adjustments? So I would like to see us make those adjustments in flight also, Alex. I think this is one of those games, the SEC game. It kind of shows us how bad we really are. What you think, Dre?
I think overall, those guys, there's going to be adversity in every football game. It's just how do those guys fight through that adversity? As long as you're out there playing for the University of Alabama and the name on your back, the likelihood of you being successful is great. Anytime you start getting all the off the field issues or things you may be playing for, that's when it becomes a distraction to you, so to speak. But as long as I said those guys buy into what Coach DeBoer says, even in making those adjustments, those guys just have to listen to him. He's the coach. He's prepared. He's won everywhere he's been. Those guys have to come in with the right mindset and really just go out there and play fast and play through the whistle.
Rodney, that's a great question, though, by Alex. If it doesn't go your way early, particularly a lot of these guys were on those teams last year that other than the LSU game, they lost at Vandy, at Tennessee, and at Oklahoma. If you do get off to a slow start, like Georgia did last year, it's what those guys just said. You just got to keep playing, don't you?
You do. I mean, you look at the Vanderbilt game, got off to a bad start, had the pick 6. You fell behind, 13-zip. You look at what happened at Tennessee. You have a penalty on the first play. You really couldn't handle the crowd noise. You struggled with that. You couldn't get going offensively. Milroe had a really bad day in terms of throwing the football. He's just inconsistent that day. Just all kinds of problems that was created by the crowd. I think when you look at, obviously, Oklahoma, you got off on a bad note again. And so I do think starting fast, and that's one thing that Kalen DeBoer's talked about repeatedly this year. We've got to start fast. We've got to start fast. But here's the key. If you don't start fast, You got to respond well. I mean, sometimes things aren't going to go well. I watched Nick Saban teams many, many times. You watch them the first quarter and you're like, they're not playing well. And then all of a sudden they hit their groove. I mean, so this is something that I don't care. You've got all these elements against you, but you still got to have the mental toughness to bounce back and to play well. And that's the one thing I think I'm going to be really looking at in this game.
The one thing I love what Coach DeBoer says about the last 4 minutes of the quarter half and the first 4 minutes of the second half. If Alabama's able to win those 8 minutes coming in and out, going into the half and coming out of halftime, I think that sets ourselves up for success to win the game later on, even if we're down. As long as we steal points before the half, we come out of halftime, drive the ball down the field, give our offense an opportunity to score. Defense comes out, they get a stop, and we're able to go out there and score on offense. So it just steals and close of the game, As long as those guys buy in, I think we'll be successful.
Alex, great stuff, man. Appreciate you with that phone call. And if you want to join in the program, 205-339-4953 is the number here on Inside the Trenches. We'd love for you to come through and give us a call here and talk with Wallace and with Andre and with Rodney Orr. All right, guys. When you look at the quarterbacks in this game, and this is where I want to go next. And we've also got some sound tonight from Coach DeBoer and the coordinators that we're going to get to. But we'll start with you, Wallace. Going into this season, both these quarterbacks were unproven. And Gunnar Stockton had to come in last year and, against Texas when Beck went down. But still, there were questions about him, certainly questions about Ty Simpson. Both these guys have played well. I mean, Simpson, even in the Florida State game, I thought he was hurt by guys around him not playing well. But the last 2 games, he's been spectacular. And what Gunnar Stockton did against Tennessee on the road at Neyland Stadium was impressive. So both these guys have confidence now. Is it too simplistic to just say that this game will come down to which quarterback performs the best? I know they got to have help around him, but how important is that if you're going to win this game, that your quarterback play well?
I'm with you. I'm 100%, Gary. I feel like in the past, every time you looked at an Alabama and Georgia matchup, it came down to the quarterback. Who do we have under center? Who do they have under center? In the past, Jalen Monroe, Tonga Tualoa, Jalen Hurts, Beck, and those guys, they've been good for Georgia and Alabama. And again, now the tide has turned. Ty Simpson's at the helm. Now and Stockton is at the helm. So these are 2, again, unproven quarterbacks. But at the same time, both of these guys are treading up. I like how Ty's is approaching the season. I like where Stockton is. So again, this is going to be a heavyweight matchup. I believe it is.
Andre, quarterback play, how key is it?
Oh man, it's so vital to the success of the offense as a whole. Like you said, Gary, if those guys are able to do what they need to do around Ty, as far as being accountable, being where they need to be in run game, wide receivers out there blocking on the perimeter, and then offensive line doing what they need to do in the interior. And then even in the pass game, those receivers have to run the correct route at the right depth and be in the right area they're supposed to be. So Ty can depend on those guys. We've seen that the last couple of weeks, guys being accountable, being where they need to be to make the offense thrive. But the biggest thing is to keep the chains moving. I think we have the right guy in the back at quarterback and Ty, keep the chains moving down the field at a good rate. If Alabama gets over 19 first downs, we should win the game. So hopefully we're able to play ball control, win, and get the run game going. Get the run game going, makes the passing game easy because they have to drop down another safety in the box to stop the run. So as long as we come out playing with our hair on fire, I think we'll be real successful.
All right, guys, we're due to take a break. Wallace has some fabulous sponsors that he's lined up for Inside the Trenches, and we need to hear from some of the people that make this podcast possible right now. Inside the Trenches is going to break away, but we'll be right back. As I said, we've got some audio coming from Alabama's coaches in the near future here on the program. Stay with us.
Labor Day has come and gone, but the best beach days are ahead of you on the Alabama Gulf Coast now through Thanksgiving. No one wants to work on vacation, so let iBeach Service do it for you. They'll set up your chairs, umbrellas, and canopies every morning and take them down every evening so you can soak up the calm, the sun, and the peace you deserve. For more information, you can call us at 251-504-0097 or visit us online at ibeachservice.com.
When you're hiring, Have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Under the biggest cactus in town, Taco Casa. Quality is number one. You got to start with a good quality product, but it's got to be at a good value to the customers.
Everything is about quality.
You just can't beat the quality, taste, and value.
And it's because we take pride in providing you with the best.
Good customer service and good food, good quality.
We want to make sure that we give that to them each and every time they come and visit us.
The sense of pride that we have in the quality, the consistency of our food carries over to everything we do in the stores. That's Taco Casa.
Get your football weekend started early with Fridays at the Free. I'm Gary Harris, and I'll broadcast my show live from Innisfree Irish Pub every Alabama game weekend from 9 to 11 a.m. on Friday mornings. So we'll get the jump on everybody else, and you'll be ready to start the weekend as soon as Innisfree opens at 11 a.m. With 2 bars, TVs everywhere, and outdoor seating as well, there's only one Innisfree Irish Pub. Often imitated but never duplicated. Fridays at the Free with me, Gary Harris, this fall at Innisfree Irish Pub, 1925 University Boulevard in Tuscaloosa.
How would you like to win a tailgate package from Fusakli's? Listen to the game with Ryan Fowler for your chance to win a Fusakli's tailgate pack with a tray of 50 fingers, half pan of crinkle-cut fries, 2 6-packs of Texas toast, 2 pints of house-made coleslaw, a gallon of fresh squeezed lemonade, and 2 pints of house-made Fusakli sauce. Listen to the game with Ryan Fowler every day from 2 until 6 for how to win a tailgate package for football season from Fusakli's and Tide 100.9.
Alabama fans are all over the world, and we are too. Download the Tide 100.9 app right now in the App Store and Google Play, and take the Crimson Tide everywhere you go.
Football is back. Join former Alabama standouts Wallace Gilberry and Andre Smith alongside Tider insiders Rodney Orr and Gary Harris every Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. Central as Wallace and Andre take you inside their time in the Crimson and White and in the NFL. Come along as they give you an inside look into the Crimson Tide and more. Catch us Monday from 7 to 8 Central on Tide100.9.com and TiderInsider.com and all your social media platforms for Inside the Trenches.
Yeah, I'm from Big Bama. You're not the little one. We got
Welcome back to Inside the Trenches. Love that music right there. Wallace Gilberry, Andre Smith, and also Rodney Orr and me, Gary Harris. And we're going to get back out on the Inside the Trenches hotline because if you call in, we want to get you on. Let's go to Denon as we get back into Inside the Trenches. Good evening, Denon. How are you?
Hey, Gary. How you doing, man?
Doing good, buddy. Good to hear from you.
Doing good. Rodney, how's it going, sir?
Doing well, Denon. Good to hear from you, buddy.
Wallace, Andre, it seemed like with Alabama since the war, maybe a little bit even the last part of Coach Saban's tenure, the on-the-road troubles the team has gotten into, especially last year, it became evident last year. I was blessed to be able to be on the sidelines for practice and then be on the field for games a lot of times. Going into these road games, is it more just basically a personal thing? You got to go on that field? Because, I mean, really and truly, if they don't go into the right mindset to this game, they're beat before they get on the field. In this case, going up against a team like Georgia, is it just they overthink it? Or is it something that basically somebody could say to get it out of them? Get it, mentality.
I'm going to be honest with you, D9, and thanks for calling in tonight, bro. Roll Tide. Honestly, man, it's a personal thing, bro. Like no one can get you ready for a game, and it's a game like a SEC heavyweight matchup. No one should have to get you going for that type of game. You know what I mean? So, and don't get me wrong, coaches bring in crowd noise throughout the week and different things throughout the week to kind of get the guys off and to make them get refocused. But and that helps. But again, if you're not a guy that's self-motivated, a game like this just isn't for you. And in the past, LSU, Auburn, Tennessee, Georgia, those games, you don't need nobody to get you going. You come out, you wake out of bed and you're ready to go. So hopefully, those guys understand that motto, and they adapt it and they come out on fire, man, because like you said, D9, this is not a game where Georgia's gonna let us, set our bearings. So we got to come out on fire.
Well, I've seen both of y'all get on the field before games. I was there for the blackout game. We went on the field and just beat the tar out of them. But y'all stepped off the bus with that mentality. And then again, a guy like Scott Cochran, I cannot repeat the words he said to y'all guys to get y'all going. But he set on the field for the game. He set the standard like, hey, every fan in this stadium hates your guts, basically.
Absolutely.
That type of thing helped. Like I said, I don't know. It seems like maybe it's just the modern day player doesn't have the, I don't want to say hunger, but maybe I do not want these guys. I want to empty this stadium before we leave. And I've got to see y'all empty a lot of these stadiums over the years. And even Coach Saban's teams after y'all went on to the NFL, maybe that's a mentality, the players' mentality. Like I said, they got to step off the bus with, hey, we can silence this stadium. And I'm just wondering if there's something missing, that fight in these new style players. These younger players we have now with a different mindset maybe than what y'all have when y'all play, because it was like, hey, we're here to prove something.
Andre?
Well, I call them NIL babies, D9. They these guys have more options than we did, So if things not going their way, they can jump ship. Back in the day, that wasn't an option. So I think a lot of it has to do with just pride. Like you just said, when we were so prideful that we wanted to silence their fans by halftime. And so that was the mindset, to make it so quiet that the crowd noise wasn't a factor. So again, I don't know where that drive fell, to even say it's failed. I think that the Florida game put a bad taste in a lot of our mouths. So hopefully, this game can get it out.
Oh yeah, I hope so. I think they step off. If they step off the bus with the right mindset, personally, offensive, defensive line, if they go out and just manhandle a little bit, put a little fight in them, we can win this game, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's the mindset, the mentality. Go on that field with that kick tail, so to speak, mentality. And like I said, congratulations on all the. Like I said, I got the pleasure of meeting y'all guys throughout the years. Got to shoot y'all's game a few times here and there, practice and everything. So hey, man, congratulations to both of y'all guys. God bless y'all with whatever y'all got in the future. The show's great. Enjoy listening to it. So y'all can just put up with Rodney and
thank you, bro.
You just put up with Rodney and Gary. Good to go.
Well, let me tell you what, Dean, the Tider Insider Nation has spoken. They said they want less of Gary and more of Rodney and Wallace and Andre. So I'm trying to stay out of the way. But Andre, I do want you to piggyback on what Denon was saying, and Wallace answered it, but I want you to as well. Do you think there has been a attitude shift from when you guys played because of what Wallace said, the NIL, because of the brand and players looking out for themselves, that maybe they don't have that intense hunger to go in and make a statement and shut those opposing fans up? Do you think it meant more to you guys than it does to these guys now? How would you answer that?
I would say our goal was to make it to the NFL when we were at college. With these guys in the NIL, it's a little bit different. Their motivation is a little different. Those guys are trying to get reevaluated every year to evolve, so to speak. So the evaluations may be higher than it was the previous year. I think the thing for me going into the game in 2008 was our goal was to make Georgia sit on their hands and lead the stadium. That was our whole good thing, our whole mantra, that whole week of practice. Even at practice that week, Coach Cochran said that they were wearing all black because they were going to a funeral.
Yeah.
So we always had that in our mind, like, yeah, we finna go make them feel like they feel like they had a funeral.
Hey, hold on. I want to speak on this. So I don't know if you guys remember this, Rodney and Gary, but the year that we played Georgia was the first year that we Alabama and Georgia kind of started back playing each other. It was 2007. And Coach Cochran, the same thing. Yep, the same thing Dre just said. That was the whole week what Coach Cochran was telling us, like, let's prepare for a funeral. So I went to the meeting. I said, hey, guys, after the game, we're going to send Matthew Stafford some flowers, and our fan ended up sending him like almost 100 flowers. When we got to the NFL, he still laughed about that. So that's what it was. I remember that, Dre. Like guys like Cochran, like that that funeral mindset. We took that into that game,
and that was a heartbreaking loss for Alabama. Ronnie, you remember that game in 07?
I do. I still remember that wheel route for the touchdown. I think it was a wheel route.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
That game was tough.
23, but Alabama got them back. That was in overtime, but Alabama gets them back in 2017 in overtime. 26.
Sure did.
But so really, Andre, what you're saying is that, and Wallace too, is the coaches do play a part in terms of that motivation. Scott Cochran, I know people have talked about him through the years, how he was such a great motivator, and listen, I think that's really.
I mean, look at West Alabama. Look what he's doing at West Alabama. I think they're undefeated right now for the first time in a long time. So I mean, the guy's a real deal. He's the real deal.
Let's get to some audio that we've got here. Just a couple clips. We're still kind of feeling everything out, and I sent Bob the entire press conferences today, and that was too much audio. I should have, but we got a couple. We were able to get a couple clips. He hustled to get a couple of clips here. So what we've got Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer. And let me pull it up here because I made notes to make sure I say the right thing as far as what they're talking about. Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer were asked about what they've seen from the team that gives them confidence that Alabama will show up on the road at Georgia Saturday and play well. And they had two different types of answers. So we'll just go ahead and is Grubb the first clip?
DeBoer's first.
Or DeBoer's first. Here's Coach DeBoer's answer.
They've just been so coachable, and I think talking through and going through what we've experienced together. You got to prove it on the football field, but just the way that they want to respond in practice, I think, has carried over into what we've done, at least in these home games these last 2 weeks. And so, we got to be resilient. We know there's going to be storms that we're going to have to weather in the SEC, on the road. And you gotta do it. No one else is going to go do it for you. I know there's a high want-to factor that this group has. Again, they've shown it in the work. They've shown it in their preparation. And that's the key. Really just prepare, invest, and do everything you can to be confident and do something special together. And so, I just ask these guys to empty the tank every single day. And they've done that. And that's what we got to do on Saturday. But we're going to have to be resilient, and understand that adversity against good football teams is going to happen, and know what our response is going to be, choose our response, and understand what that looks like even now, not just when it happens.
All right, that's Kalen DeBoer when asked about what gives him confidence that Alabama will show up and play well on Saturday night. Ryan Grubb was asked the same question and had a little bit of a different response. Here's Ryan Grubb.
Yeah, good question. I think for the guys, again, I hate to keep falling back on boring answers, but honestly, it just comes down to execution. Unfortunately, week one, that was something that we weren't doing a great job of. And I think the last 2 weeks, regardless of opponent, it's been our execution that has allowed us to stay on the field and be efficient.
All right, Wallace, I guess obviously both of those statements are true. From Kalen DeBoer, it's more of a mindset, just mentally just saying, hey, we're going to be tough, hard-nosed, we're going to hang in and do whatever it takes. And Ryan Grubb saying, hey, man, it's about the execution. We've got to execute what we do. So a little bit different answers, but I guess it all ties in together, doesn't it?
Sorry about that. It does tie in together, but at the same time, I do kind of understand what both guys are trying to get out. Okay, I understand that on DeBoer's where he's coming from, the mindset. A mindset is a mindset if you don't execute. Like Grubb is saying, if you don't go out and do the things asked of you, if you don't go out and do your job, I mean, the mindset doesn't matter. I'm just being honest with you. If the guy in front of me has a better will breaker than me and he's going to break my will, it doesn't matter how prepared I am. I have, as a man, have to figure that out. I have to figure out, how can I put myself in position to help my teammates? And so I think that's what's going to boil down to. Each guy understanding that, okay, we don't have the Nick Saban factor anymore. Guys are not afraid of us when we get off the bus. So we're going to have to show up and play. So I think once we understand that and that motto and understand that mindset, we're going to be fine.
Andre, your response, because you're an offensive guy, Wallace is a defensive guy. So I think you both do look at it from a little bit of different perspective. I think Wallace's perspective, defense, you got to let it all hang out. You got to get after people. But to Coach Grubb's point on offense, it is about execution. I mean, especially on the offensive line. I mean, a guy flinches, it's a 5-yard penalty. It changes the down and distance. You really have to, you want to be aggressive and you want to be tough and hard-nosed, but you really have to focus on the execution side, I would believe.
Oh yeah, for sure. Offensive line play, we have to be 5 individuals strong together. That's the only way the offense is going to move. Defense, one guy can make a play, and our defense looks great, so to speak. But as an offense, like Coach Grubb said, those guys have to be responsible, and Ty has to have trust in those guys to be where they're supposed to be in the pass game, meaning receivers, tight end, running back, and also blitz pickup for offensive line and running back also. And he has to be able to trust the offensive line to be able to run off the ball, give the back ball to the running back, and for them to create creases for him, the running back, to be able to run through. But like even with Coach DeBoer saying that guys are flying around, buying into what he's selling throughout the week, guys are competing for each other. Guys that remember all the hard work they put in during the off season, and don't want to let that go to waste, so to speak. All the camaraderie they built while hanging out with each other, going out, whether it be to dinner or whatnot. These guys are starting to play for each other. And that's what's fun about the college football. Guys are able to go out there and play for each other and go out there and compete their tails off and try to get a win against a great opponent in Georgia, who's going to be one of the top teams at the end of the year like they are for the last 9 years, however long Coach Kirby Smart's been there. But like I said, guys just have to continue to buy in to what the office is selling and the DC is selling, and the team will be successful.
Rod, you're on the board and you monitor what all your members say, and I know we all read Tider Insider. If you're an Alabama fan, you read Tider Insider. I like the Kalen DeBoer we've seen the last couple of weeks. Now, I don't think he's changed who he is. I just think he's showing us some fire that I think maybe, he's been labeled as a precision coach, an X's and O's coach. And he said he likes having player-led teams. But he also said today, sometimes you got to light a fire under him. And I think we're seeing a little more intensity from Kalen DeBoer. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've seen the demeanor after the games. I thought I saw it in the ULM game and post-game, the way he addressed some things. I think the Wisconsin game, as well as they played, at the end of the game or near the end of the game, you had some issues with drop passes. Ryan drops a touchdown pass. Latsier Brooks has a pass that, he hits the sideline. He's probably gone. He drops the ball. And those guys have good hands, but you got to be able to, you make those plays. You got to stay focused to make those plays. Those can be difference maker plays in games. And then you have some other issues that happen there in the game late. You had some penalties. You give up a 41-yard touchdown pass late, and all of those things. I know you're saying, okay, you won the game 38-14 or whatever it was, but at the same time, what would Nick Saban, and any coach say? You want to finish. You want to finish because, like Wallace has been saying, Andre's been saying, it's a mentality. Okay, you want to finish the game strong. And to hear DeBoer come in and say, look, he didn't sugarcoat it. He said, we didn't really finish the way I wanted to finish. And to be honest with you, we really hadn't heard a lot of that. I think he had, been pretty mellow in terms of pointing out things that his players needed to do better. And I think to say, look, we didn't finish the way I wanted to. That caught my attention.
Wallace, you like this fire that you're hearing and seeing from Kalen DeBoer? We know he's intense. I mean, you don't get to this level as a football coach, but he has not shown that intensity, I think, last year nearly as much as he has so far this season. Do you like it?
Only if it transition over, Gary.
Okay,
I feel like a team is a reflection of their leader, which is their head coach. I feel like the leader on the team is a reflection of their leader, which is the head coach. And I've been around some programs where you look on the sideline and the coach is all bark, but the player has no bites in him. So you would like to see some of that fire and transition pour out on the field. I want to see that fire in Lawson, in LT Overton. I want to see that fire, elude in those guys. I want to see it, displayed through Saturday, because that's the most important part of all of this. Are the players picking this up? I mean, the fans. We're fans. At the end of the day, now we are fans. So it's easy for us to be pumped up and disappointed about the team, but are the players pumped up? Are they buying into it? And Saturday we're going to see. Yeah.
That's a great point, Wallace. That's a great statement because, Andre, Coach Saban said, do your job. Everybody just needs to do their job. But that's where the preparation comes in, right? I mean, you got to prepare and know what you're supposed to do. So during the week, you put it all in, and then you go out and do your job. So it is up to the coaches to have these guys prepared and ready to play the game so that if they do their job, they have success. We didn't see that against Florida State. Do you think that coaches and players learned something from that experience?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think they learned a lot. A lot of things are more or amplified when you lose the way we did against Florida State. Maybe there were some things they weren't leaning on in training camp leading into the season that they had to be more critical on, maybe more attention to details. And we've most definitely seen that the last couple of weeks out the University of Alabama. I think these guys are buying in to what Coach DeBoer is selling, and these guys are going out there playing with their hair on fire. At the end of the day, you have to be motivated as an individual to go be successful for yourself and the team. But, you know, we got a lot of guys that don't mind doing the dirty work right now. I think we missed that last year. We didn't have any guys doing the dirty work. And I think we have guys flying around, playing fast, playing with their hair on fire, playing for one another with one common goal to win a national championship. I think we've seen that the last couple of weeks for sure.
All right,
if I was to put –
Go ahead, Wallace.
Oh, no, I was going to say, Gary, if I was to put myself back into 2007 to today, I know for a fact if I would have came out and we not say we didn't put on the showing that we wanted to put on, and we know we're better than this.
Mm-hmm.
ULM and Wisconsin are not the games that I'm gonna come out and beat my chest on. I'm just gonna be honest, like,
right,
and just being flat out honest. Georgia is gonna be the game that we can sit back and say, okay, we back on track. We figured this out, and that's just how I feel about it.
Great points, guys. Great points. All right, we got to get to a break. We want to hear again from some of our fine sponsors that make Inside the Trenches possible. And before we close out the show, Wallace will tell us more about them too, because he has done a marvelous job of lining up support for this podcast. We're really starting to grow it now. I've gotten a number of messages about it, even tonight while we're on the air, and we want to hear from you. 205-339-4953. So let's take a time out, and we'll be back with more Inside the Trenches right after this.
Labor Day has come and gone, but the best beach days are ahead of you on the Alabama Gulf Coast now through Thanksgiving. No one wants to work on vacation, so let iBeach Service do it for you. They'll set up your chairs, umbrellas, and canopies every morning and take them down every evening so you can soak up the calm, the sun, and the peace you deserve. For more information, you can call us at 251-504-0097 or visit us online at ibeachservice.com.
95.3 The Bear and Sports Radio Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC are partnering with Baumhauer's Victory Grill this season to put you in the best seats in the house at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Sign up online at 953thebear.com, on the app, or the Tide 100.9 app. Each week, we'll pick a winner for a pair of tickets to an Alabama home football game. Baumhauer's Victory Grill, with 2 locations in Tuscaloosa, Harper Lee Drive, and Baumhauer South on Courtney Drive. Let Baumhauer's Victory Grill put you in the best seats in the house. Oh my God! With 95.3 The Bear and Sports Radio Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job in ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Tuesday edition of The Game, we're doing a Southern Ohio score prediction day for Alabama, Georgia, and a large prize package because it's a big game. We'll talk to Chris Lowe. We'll also talk to Mike Detillier, all starting at 2 p.m. right here on a score prediction day on a Tuesday in Tuscaloosa on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Football is back. Join former Alabama standouts Wallace Gilberry and Andre Smith alongside Tider insiders Rodney Orr and Gary Harris every Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. Central as Wallace and Andre take you inside their time in the Crimson and White and in the NFL. Come along as they give you an inside look into the Crimson Tide and more. Catch us Monday from 7 to 8 Central on Tide100.9.com and TiderInsider.com and all your social media platforms for Inside the Trenches.
See, I'm from Big Bama. You're not the little one. We got smoke for anybody.
All right, 7:45. Welcome back to Inside the Trenches, starring Wallace Gilberry and Andre Smith and featuring Rodney Orr and me, Gary Harris. And we're going to jump back out on the Inside the Trenches hotline at 205-339-4953. And we got another former Bama athlete wanting to talk to Wallace and Andre. Former Alabama baseball standout Robbie Glenn, of course, his son, Striker. They've got the Striker Strong organization, which just about all former Alabama athletes are aware of. And it's a great organization. And also, Robbie can still do a full split, Rodney.
Full split.
In his 50s. And he can, hey, Robbie, how's it going, man?
Hey, Gary. Yeah, you had to pull that one out. Yeah,
I did.
Still doing it.
It's impressive.
It hurts a little bit. What's going on, fellas, man?
Hey, Rob. How we doing tonight?
I love it, man.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good. But I jumped on late. And I'm glad I caught in because I love what y'all are talking about, and I love y'all's insight and everything. And you're right. I mean, they got to take on the passion of the coach, but I don't know if they will. But you know, you had no choice with Coach Saban, did you? I mean, you had to take that on, or he was going to get you off the field.
Let's kind of reverse this, Robbie. So let's talk about baseball for a second. Like the mental aspect, because you guys are totally different athletes than football players. But when you guys are playing, you know, your big SEC games, what was your week preparation like? Like, how did you prepare mentally for those big SEC games?
Well, I mean,
take us back.
You like to say we prepared the same way. I thought as ever we knew what was coming up, but you had to go through. We had our everyday routines that we had to get better, but we did stuff different back then than they do now. You know, we played small ball. You'd bump people over. We'd hit and run. So we worked on that practice. But we knew if we were playing LSU, what kind of pitching we were getting. So we started doing more situational hitting, how to drive the ball to right field on those hard throwers that they had. But, you know, yeah, we mentally got up for those games. But we also had 2 games during the week, too. So there wasn't like you can just sit there and practice and try to get ready for just a game on the weekend because you were going to play other games. So, you know, some of the games change so much. They have so much talk out there, you can't stand it.
Absolutely. And as you said, the game has changed so much because, you know, back then we had 3-a-days and 2-a-days. I don't even think those guys even know what that is anymore, you know, so I'm with you 100%.
And we didn't get, when I was playing football, we had the 2-a-day. We didn't get water if we didn't deserve it. Yeah, you try that now.
Right. Yeah, lawsuit.
I got a question. I got a question for both y'all since you both were dominant at y'all's positions and handled the same thing. But with our left tackle, Proctor, I mean, it's obvious he's a great talent, huge guy, but he's having trouble with smaller guys getting past him with that first step. So, Andre, what would you do to get him working on something? Because it's obvious he can't get that step down. I'm sure they're working on it. But what would you do to teach him to improve on certain things to counter for that? And same with you, Wallace. You coming off the end, what are you going to do to really go past him and show what he's got to work on?
For me, the biggest thing I would tell him to get to his spot and go to work. And on offense, as offensive lineman, we have the advantage. We know where the play's going. We know the snap count. We know where the quarterback's going to be at. So for him, the biggest thing is to get out of his stance, get to his spot as quick as possible, and go to work from there. From there, it's playing basketball, but you're able to use your hands. As long as he's able to do those things at a high level, come out, I just think he can get a little lackadaisical at times, just, depending on his athletic ability. But these guys out here in the SEC now, they're using their talent, they're using their technique, but also being very explosive while doing it. I just think he'd be more explosive with coming out the ball in his pass pro and get to the spot and just go to work.
And I'm the total opposite of kind of what Dre's saying. I'm from a defensive aspect, I want to get to that spot first too. So I would like to say, is he spending time watching film? Because if I'm going against a guy of his nature, I want to see how quick his first step is. I want to see the first thing that moves on his body to give me that extra jump to get to that spot. So maybe he's giving away some tendencies that he may need to go back and evaluate and do some self-evaluating, watch film on himself and see what kind of tendencies is he giving these guys for a jump or a head start. So that's what I would do. I would kind of, do some self-evaluating because clearly there's something that these guys are seeing and getting a jump on him. So maybe again, there's some self-evaluating there that he can see to kind of change up his approach and hide some of those tendencies a little bit better.
Okay. Well, I hope he starts doing that because we got a big game this weekend.
Huge.
So,
Robbie, while we
Huge,
got you, just a quick word about strikerstrong.org and the golf tournament that's coming up.
Yeah, Striker Strong came after my son who suffered a anoxic brain injury 6.5 years ago. And we had already started this foundation for TBRS, rare syndromes, and raising money. But as soon as he had the brain injury, we had to change. Still help TBRS to raise awareness for that and give them money, but also kids with special needs and also with brain injuries. And so the tournament, I always wait for home football games because I get a lot of ex-teammates that come back, a lot of football, a lot of basketball. It's next Friday before Vanderbilt. Got 270 golfers signed up. Do have a lot of ex-players coming. I just talked to a few of the players that are just going to come over and hang out. Coker's going to be there and with Gillespie do their live podcast and play. Tyler Watts and a bunch of others. Y'all are welcome to come too. Andre, me and you used to hang out at I was working at 3000 Bar.
Many Saturdays ago.
Yeah, so I was doing some things in there, helping him get that open and run, and my wife was actually bartending at the time just to get him going. And
right,
we did some things back then.
Good stuff.
And another thing that Proctor can do, when I used to do it at the University of Alabama, I used to go against Javier Arenas every Thursday.
Really?
Yeah, because I knew I was going against a faster guy who was a little more elusive or had more suddenness than I may have. I would go against Javier or even Tyrone King to work on those moves that I may have to go against an opponent that's faster than me. So then maybe that's one thing that that Proctor could start doing, making go against a skill guy, go against somebody who's a punt returner because they're more elusive or shifty.
That's
cool.
that self-evaluation. That's that self-evaluation that I was alluding to earlier. Like only he know what he needs to work on. We can sit here and assume, but he knows. So like you say, Rodney, we hope that he's out here working on those things.
Yeah. Hey, good to hear from you, Robbie. Thanks, man.
All right, Gary. Thanks, guys. Love the show.
Great calls. Great
call, Robbie. Thanks for calling.
All right, Rodney, I'm gonna shift to you for just a minute because you have got and Wallace and Andre can play off of these, but you got some keys to the game.
Yeah, I really think one of the keys, we talked about the mental toughness of Georgia. I mean, physically, they're a tough football team. Kirby Smart has a renewed mindset of running the football. They want to run the football. And I think they felt like they really needed to get back to that. They felt like it would help their quarterback, Gunnar Stockton. And they've done a fantastic job. I mean, they're averaging 209 yards a game rushing. So that's a real key. Alabama's got to find a way to slow down that Georgia running game. That's going to be a real key. And when you look at Alabama's defensive line, they're really thin. Thankfully, Tim Keenan will be back this week because he's going to be really important in the middle now. How much he's going to exactly play,
we'll
find out. But I think, that's a real key is you got to find a way to slow down Georgia's run. Now, here's the thing that, and I'll flip this to Andre. Alabama needs to get their running game going. They're averaging 123 yards per game rushing. They're giving up 138, by the way. So you almost say, is Georgia going to be able to really run the football? So on one side, you've got to be able to stop the run, but Alabama's got to get that running game established, Andre. They've got to get that going.
I agree 100%. Like, we have to find that identity as a team, whether it's running the ball 36 times, 46 times a game, 40 times a game, and only throwing it 30 times a game. Just to find that identity, whatever it may be, that's helping Alabama win that day. Of course, we would love to get the run game going because it makes everything easier. You're able to run on a lighter box. The heavier you're able to throw the ball against a lighter box, and you're able to push the ball down the field once your run game is going. Because Coach Smart's going to drop a safety down to support. But, as long as those guys are in the right place where they're supposed to be, I believe we have the better team, better individuals. I think we just need to play together as a unit on offense and defense and in special teams. I think we'll have success when it's on Saturday.
Good to hear. Good to hear, because the trenches are going to be really important. I'll tell you another thing, too. We talked about getting off to a fast start. Alabama's got to be able to deal with that noise. They got to be able to deal with the crowd noise, obviously. And listen, I think Ty Simpson is one of the hottest quarterbacks in the country. We talked about what he's done statistically the last 2 games, 41 of 46 and all of that. Gary, you know this. This is a different animal going into Sanford Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to be able to deal with the noise. He's going to have to deal with the stage, and he's going to have to deal with a great Georgia defense. Ty's got to have a big game because they've been relying on Ty. He's going to have to come through. He's going to have to throw the ball accurately, make quick decisions, and get the ball to the right guy. And let me say this. This is what, when you look at what happened at Tennessee, Tennessee was balanced offensively against Georgia. They ran the football. They had 175 yards rushing. So they kept Georgia a little bit on their heels. But Joey Aguilar,
big game.
24, 36, 371 yards, 4 touchdowns. Gary, he hit big plays. I think the big plays would be there. Chris Brazzell, their receiver, had 6 catches, I think it was, for 177 yards, 3 touchdowns. Alabama can hit big plays. You know, again, I'm not really that familiar with how deep Tennessee's wide receiver core is as they compare to Alabama, but Alabama's got a deep core.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there are going to be big play opportunities there. And when they happen, Ty's got to hit those shots.
Great analysis, Rodney. All right, Wallace and Andre, I want to ask you a question that's a little bit off the grid, but I think it's so much better that Georgia won that game over Tennessee for a couple reasons. Number one, I mean, they're going to try to win this game regardless, but if they lose that game, they're in desperation mode a little bit, being 0-1 in the SEC. Plus, Alabama gets more credit, beating an undefeated number 5 ranked Georgia if they win. And if they lose, it's not as damning to them because Georgia's undefeated. So it was better for Georgia to win that game, I think, over Tennessee. Would you guys agree?
I would 100%. And again, I'm gonna go on record by saying this. In the past, you know, and we keep alluding to this, guys wasn't afraid to not make mistakes. You know, even though Coach Saban was, you know, a conqueror, guys weren't afraid to make mistakes. So I think we got to get back to that play. We got to get back to guys playing free, you know, being themselves, finding themselves early, and just being who they are, dominant Alabama football player. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing.
Andre?
And what I like to say is that, you know, even if you do make a mistake, as long as everybody's on the same page, there's an opportunity for there to be success. So as long as everybody's out there communicating, talking amongst each other, seeing everything the same way, even if there is a bust, maybe in coverage or maybe up front on the O-line, the opportunity, as long as everybody's on the same page, there's an opportunity to be successful.
All right, guys. Boy, time flew by tonight. Really good show. And listen, this is going to be available on the socials. We had all the video tonight, and so really starting to kind of come into place and inside the trenches. Wallace, we got about a minute, though. I want you to have an opportunity to thank your sponsors and also let people know how they can get involved in a sponsorship way if they want to do that for Inside the Trenches.
Absolutely. We want to thank Beach Ball Rental. We want to thank iBeach. We want to thank Law Tigers. I mean, so many more coming on week by week. And if you want to get in touch with us, it's Inside the Trenches, 9271@gmail.com. You guys hit us up. We would love to get your business out there. Like, again, what Gary said, every week we're evolving. Things are getting a whole lot more smoother. The show is full of great content. I mean, the numbers and the statistics that Gary and Rodney bring to the table, the insight that me and Dre bring to the table, the show is really coming together. Kind of envision what I envision. So I want to thank all you guys for being a part of it. And thanks to callers. I want to thank the fans for calling in and being a part of what we're doing also. Thank you, guys.
All right. Great stuff. Rod, quick word in regards to how you think it's going to play out without giving your prediction, which we'll do tomorrow night on Tyler Insider TV.
Yeah. Well, you know, look, I think it's going to come down to how does Alabama respond to adversity, Gary. I expect Alabama to play really, really well. Will it be enough? You know, we're going to find out.
Yeah.
But I do expect Alabama to play well.
And I know this. Next week, we will go in depth in what happened on Saturday night. Win or lose, Wallace and Andre will be back with their analysis. And win or lose, you got to get ready for Vanderbilt. That's this league. And Vanderbilt just hung 70 on Georgia State. I think they were mad at losing that game last year. So We'll be back with another edition of Inside the Trenches next Monday night. For Wallace Gilberry, Andre Smith, and Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for listening and watching, everybody. And join us again next week on Inside the Trenches.
Roll Tide.
Labor Day has come and gone, but the best beach days are ahead of you on the Alabama Gulf Coast now through Thanksgiving. No one wants to work on vacation, so let iBeach Service do it for